So that was beautiful. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Wait, I'm sorry. A Knight of the Nine Kingdoms is over at long last, and it has left a giant Westeros shaped hole inside my heart. This show it is and was amazing, terrific, and this final episode does it manages to, I think, kind of cover all of the major aspects of the show that make it so good. The the nobility of that sort of simple life of the hedge knight, and these heroic traits, and the ambitions to be better, to better yourself, and to be better for the people of the realm. I think it all is sort of it comes together and is reinforced in this final episode without sacrificing too much in turn. Much anyway, because there is one mistake that I just don't agree with here. A decision that the writers made, and I guess it's less of a mistake and more of my personal preference situation. But it also wasn't in the book either, so that has that working against it. And we'll get to that. We will get to that. Believe me. But first, just another quick spoiler warning. This is the final episode, but the big stuff happened last episode. This is more the denouement than anything, um, because Baelor Targaryen is dead. The episode starts with Dunk in recovery and brooding over the fact that all these people died protecting him, this lowly hedge knight. And Lionel, he shows up to check on his buddy Dunk, Lionel Baratheon, ever the jovial, well-meaning sort. At least so he seems. There's this great interaction with him and with an incompetent maester who tells him that Dunk is dying, which is obviously not true. And Lionel, my man, he gets to tell off the maester and tell him to run away. And again, the energy of this guy is just so good. He plays the character so well. He's a much more noble and compassionate even than in the book, where he's kind of a non-character at first. And I like this guy a lot more, but also he does have a dark side, and he shows that dark side here, which I like as well. He's a good character. The Baratheons have always had this grudge against the Targs, and here it shows. Uh, Lionel, he is not in mourning. He does not mourn the loss of Prince Baelor. In fact, he kind of celebrates it. He says that the only good dragon is a dead dragon, and that's just so brutal. He says that Baelor risked nothing, and the gods struck him down for that. He was fighting against people sworn not to do him any harm, and Lionel says that the gods didn't like that. He didn't like that he was cheating, and that's just it's so cruel and unnecessary, and it really shows how Lionel is a Baratheon at heart, right? He hates the Targaryens so much that it kind of distracts from anything else. And he he wants Dunk to join him. He wants Dunk to be his sworn knight. He believes that a war is coming, a rebellion perhaps, and he thinks that Dunk would make a fine sort of sidekick in the coming conflict. And we see throughout the series offers like this, Dunk being made these offers that would easily change his life for the better, right? That they would offer him wealth and security and honor and dignity and glory, and yet that's not all he wants. He wants to feel good about himself. He wants to do the right thing, and he thinks he's better off without that corruption. Because Dunk, though he agrees to think about it, he doesn't want to be part of some Baratheon rebellion against the Targaryens. And it is so, like, it breaks my heart a little because Lionel is, he's such a fun character and such a seemingly nice guy, very jovial, very polite. He's not, in the end, he's willing to make friends with a poor hedge knight basically on a whim, which you wouldn't get from a Lannister, that's for sure. Um, but he's also just arrogant. And it's the kind of a wicked thing to lead a full scale rebellion against, like in an era like this where there isn't even a tyrant on the throne. Uh, I mean, the current king is not torturing people or setting the world on fire or anything. He's not the mad king who needed to be deposed. Lionel's dream is just to go to war because he likes war, and because he doesn't like the Targaryens, and because of that, because of him, his ego, he's going to get a bunch of people killed. And I guess my instinct here is just that Lionel, please, you're better than this. Um, and anyway, Dunk, he has a few great scenes in this episode, ripped right from the books, mind you. Back to back, where he's like meeting with Baelor's son, and there's this amazing interaction where the young knight, asks Dunk why the gods would take Baelor and let a poor hedge knight survive. Dunk, of course, has no answer to that. But maybe one day the god's reasoning will be made plain. Um, and Maekar Targaryen, I've honestly come to appreciate the understated acting here, and throughout the show. Really, there's a lot of scenes where characters are that they say less, and in so doing, their actions speak louder than words. And I think that's very true with Maekar. Maekar is this depressed, grumpy, constantly upset uh, uh, man who I think he could have easily turned into a Scar or a Claudius type figure. But instead, though he holds on to his jealousy and his bitterness, he never meant to harm his brother. But he says that he'll always hear those whispers, that he meant to do it, that he meant to accidentally kill his brother, and only the gods know the truth. He does offer here that Dunk be made a knight, that Dunk a proper knight, a sworn sword of the royal house working at Summerhall, and that is just this crazy offer. Egg could be a squire, and Dunk could be rich. But Dunk doesn't want that life. Dunk doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to get anyone else killed for starters, and he doesn't. He thinks he's through with princes. Um, so he kind of mumbles and bumbles his way around the tourney for a bit, running into Raymond Fossaway, and like having this kind of great heart to heart with him. They are their friendship is good. I very much like it. And meanwhile, Dexter Soul Ansel, I think his name is, gets to show off his acting chops as Egg, right? Dex really kind of leans into the kind of dark aspect of Egg plotting to kill his brother Arion, who is still convalescing, and Arion who needs to go, right, for all the crap he's done. Arion is as much to blame for getting his uncle killed as Dunk or Maekar himself. Um, and it's just amazing to see Egg just having such a bad time and seeing that he's a good actor. The kid, he's going places. And it wasn't in the book, this scene, but because the book was only from Dunk's perspective, but it definitely works, and it's definitely something that I think would have and perhaps did happen in that story that we just didn't get to see. Um, And eventually, Dunk does kind of come to a decision. He comes to a realization with the help of poor Dayron the Drunken, who I do very much like that character. I've always liked him. There's something kind of helpless and hapless and stupid about this guy, this kind of a monster, really, that makes him like narratively endearing. Because Dunk sort of realizes, in not so many words, that Arion and Dayron are kind of two sides of the same coin, if you will. This idea that one is an active, like malicious evil, and another is an evil done in passivity and inaction. An evil done by decadence and paranoia and depression. Um, and so Dunk kind of he comes to this idea that maybe castle living does things to a person. It makes them entitled and cruel and self-centered. So he offers that Egg be his squire, but not at Summerhall. He offers that Egg be his squire on the road, a hedge knight's apprentice. And Makar is reluctant. He refuses. And this is Makar's last chance to raise a good person, to have a good son. It's such a well done scene, and you can really understand Makar's reasoning here, even if you don't agree with it. And there you do have a moment in this episode, a dream, I believe it is, where Dunk is with Sir Arlen of Pennytree again. And earlier, um, Dunk called himself a fraud, and here we kind of find out why. And Dunk he asks this ghost of Sir Arlen why he never made him a knight. Um, and so we know that Dunk has been lying this entire time. On his deathbed, Sir Arlen did not knight him. He's been lying, and this is kind of my one problem with the episode is that in the books, though this idea is hinted at and even it's almost made obvious at times, it's always been very hush hush whether or not Dunk is an actual knight. And while I do believe that Dunk made it up, and that's an important part of his character, in much the same way how Brienne of Tarth, his descendant, is also not a knight, and yet somehow the best knight ever. Um, I just don't think it should be made so plain. Uh, I mean, here they just tell you, they just shout it at the audience. And I think that kind of cheapens the tale. It removes the glorious subtext and audience engagement for a very short, brief, and relatively less interesting, like, kind of shock moment. Oh no, he's not actually a knight. This entire show is based on a lie. They could have hinted at it without saying it, I guess is my point. And it's a minor thing, I know, but it bothers me so much. Um, and that's a shame because it's a brilliant episode in a brilliant show, better than anything set in the world of Westeros before. And it ends on a nice note, I will say. Dunk he prepares to set off, and he is doing what, as he sees it, he should have done in the first place, which is take his horse in the other direction. Um, but not before Egg shows up, and he takes it upon himself to run away from home again and join Duncan as his squire. It's this amazing little scene and very cute because Egg he says that Makar relented and said that he said that I should squire for you, sir, when in actuality even that's not true. Makar is furious and asking where his son is, and no one knows, and it's brilliant. But anyway, Egg he also insists as they sort of ride off into the sunset. He insists, as little kids are wont to do, with their silly ideas and their very honest like abandon. He insists that there are 9 whole kingdoms for them to explore, not 7 kingdoms. And, what? I hear you exclaim. Well, there are 9 kingdoms, according to Egg. There are 9 kingdoms: the Crownlands, the Stormlands, Dorne, the Reach, the Westerlands, the Riverlands, the Iron Islands, the Vale of Arryn, and the North. That is 9 whole kingdoms. Wait, what? Huh? Anyway, it's kind of this adorable ending, and in some ways, it's kind of the perfect microcosm, if you will, of Dunk and Egg's like ridiculous, childish, and wonderful relationship, which I'm sure ends only on good terms and uh, has absolutely no more tragedies to come. I can't wait for the next season, though. Honestly, an adaptation of the Sworn Sword, because we'll get to deal with Bennis the Brown Knight and Lord Osgray and the Long Inch. That'll be a great fight, and sexy, sexy Rohan Weber. Uh, and after all that, we'll get Bloodraven in probably the third season, an adaptation of the Mystery Knight. And I expect that all to be as serious and goofy and awesome and hilarious as the book was. But until then, I've been your host, Connor Landon Freeman, and this is my channel where I talk about books and movies and TV shows and the odd video game, and also about my own writing. I am an author of fantasy and horror and a little bit of science fiction, and I actually have a new book coming out, Autumn in the Skin, a medieval horror novel set to release on the 3rd of March. So keep an eye out for that. And while you're at it, like, comment, and subscribe. You get the drill. I would very much appreciate it. Um, so yeah, bye.